During the Christmas season each year, I've been putting up the Holiday Accents Christmas tree train on our tree, and it's been getting a little long in the tooth. The tracks are coming apart, you know, plastic's falling apart, and I actually wanted another tree train, and it was hard to find, but I finally tracked it down on eBay. The Bachmann Trim-a-Train. This is an N-gauge railway that's electrically powered, and as you can see here, it says, "Caution! Electrically operated!" You know, got to be very careful when you're working with electricity. You never know what can happen. So, I'm going to put this together and see how it works. This is ancient. This was made a long, long time ago, back in probably the 19-aughts. No, not that long ago. I think it was in the 90s this was made, and it was in fairly new condition. It even has some of the wrapping on it. So I have no idea how this thing goes together. So let's open the box and see what we got. So as you can see, this is the Silver Star variant. Bachmann made a few different types of these. This is a fairly standard looking locomotive, and we open it up. And there's the very tiny, tiny track. It still has some tape on here. I don't know if this is original. I assume this was put on later, because I don't think they would seal with electrical tape. There we go. This is interesting. It's an old yellow zip tie and a few thumb screws. And in here is some very, very tiny screws. I hope there's an instruction manual. Yeah, this definitely was used at some point. At least they kept, oh man, little twisty ties on the tracks to keep those together. And there's the power supply. And it's basically a very simple on or off. And a little proprietary connector there. Got plenty of cord though, that's good. And these would be the supports. And this would be the place to mount the track. So let's take all this apart and see what we can find. And oh look, we have the instruction manual. That will be a big help. And I need a tape measure to figure out where I'm going to put this. 24 inches in diameter. All right. This is a little more involved than I expected. Let's see. Numéro 3. Comme ici l'installation en filant le ruban à tronc par le... Let's try the English. Number 3. Begin installation by threading the releasable trunk band. That sounds like a great name for a band. The releasable trunk band. Through the holes in the ends of the 4 support arms. The releasable trunk band. Let's see if we go back here. Releasable trunk band is G. Ah, the releasable trunk band is the zip tie. So I have to string that through the what? Through the holes in the ends of the 4 support arms. All right. So let's get that releasable. This has never been opened. Wow. All right, so let's get Well, I'm probably going to have to replace this with a Ziploc. Don't want to lose anything. There's the releasable trunk band. And how do you release it? There we go. All right, that's actually still pretty pliable after 20-something years. More than I am. All right, so we look at this and it says through the 4 support arms. And the support arms are votre ensemble, no. Support arms are D, which are these things. Which are these things? And let's get these out. There we go. So, through the holes in the 4 support arms. So these are the support arms, I think. No, these are the support brackets. So these are the support arms. All right. There's 1, 2. So these are the support arms. So I'm going to the serrated side of the trunk band will face toward the tree when the band is tightened. Begin by installing. Be sure that this through the holes. I don't understand. Put them through and see what happens. So I got that one. And I got that one. Should they all go the same way or not? Let's put them all the same way. That one, that one. That was exciting. There we go. All right, now what? You may cut off the excess trunk band, but keep in mind you'll be using the same trunk band next year. You'll need some trunk band to hold on for tightening. And if your next tree has a larger trunk, your trunk band may have been cut too short. That's not good. All right, so I get it. These fan outward. Aha! So these are around the trunk. I get it. It's all making sense to me now. That's what they mean by trunk band. It goes around the trunk. Duh. So they have to be 90 degrees apart to the 4 points of the compass. I gotcha. All right. So off we go. So in we go. I probably should have held off on the garland. this will go here. And this will go here. There, that wasn't too bad. All right, those are in. The next step is these little thumb screws and these brackets here, and this goes into here, theoretically. It's just a plastic nut, it's not metal, and I don't think it's ever been inserted in there. So, there it goes. So this is going to go onto those arms that stick out, and this is supposed to dig into the trunk of my artificial tree, and that will hold the thing at a 90-degree angle. We shall see. All right, I got the bolts in place. They're really stiff because it's plastic on plastic. Might want to put a little Vaseline on this in order to help it slide through a bit better. Because this certainly doesn't want to turn. Probably have to get a wrench. Let's see, this goes on here like this. There we go. Lift this up. Whoopsie. That's not good. See what they mean about putting this on here, but there we go. That is a little too high. That's better. So that's the inside. You can see the zip tie over here, the end of it, and you can see the way it's attached. I'm not liking the way they chose to attach the supports. This is really flimsy. There's nothing really holding it down here. It's just resting against the trunk. And all the weight is going to be on these little thin plastic pieces. I had thought they would use aluminum to strengthen it a bit more, because it's going to be a bit of weight on there. The trains are not light. But we'll put the rest together and we'll see how it works out. All right, the next step is to install the track bed. Now it starts off with this piece here, which you can see has a piece of track already installed, because on the bottom is the connector for the transformer. So this will be the first piece, and I'm going to install this toward the back so the wire will run down the back of the tree. And you do need to have a mini screwdriver in order to attach the track, because it comes with all those little tiny screws, Phillips screws. I do like this piece. This is nice and sturdy compared to the track on the other train I tried. This is really sturdy. The irony is what's holding it onto the tree is not very sturdy. So we're going to see how this holds up. I assume the whole structure will support itself. Otherwise they wouldn't have made it, but we'll find out. So there are 4 of these, and there's a hole with a supporting bracket in here. And all you do is slide this in there, and we just got to connect all these pieces together through here. And once this is all on, then the actual track goes on. And then the connector slides through here. So let's start over here. Get the back. And I have a feeling it said 2 feet, and that's not going to work because this is going to go under the branches. So whereabouts, it would have to go way up here. So I'm going to have to reposition this because I measured and this was much less than 2 feet, but I guess we've got to go a lot higher. Let me see. Yeah, 2 feet's right here, and I definitely have 2 feet out each way, but this is not 2 feet. This has got to be about 18 inches when it's all put together, so it'll have to go way up here. So let's reposition this sucker and try again. All right, helpful hint. If you can see, there's the edge right here of where the track base goes. This needs to stick out beyond the furthest tree branch because that's how far it'll come. So that's a helpful thing to know. So now I just got to find a place where that will be happening up here on the tree. And also, it probably would have been better to have put this together before any of the lights or garland was on. I mean, none of the decorations are on, and it says to put it on before you put the decorations on, but this should be, once the tree is up, this should be the next thing to go on, is this, to save struggling. Well, it turns out, like I suspected, this zip tie is pretty much dead. It wouldn't hold anymore. And I tightened it and it would just loosen up and these things would fall out. Also, I found another thing. These pieces have a flat end on them, and I didn't know what that was for. Well, duh. That's how you tighten these down, is onto the flat end. Now it's all starting to make sense, except if I do that, it has to go through the side. So why they designed it with the flat end, which should be the end that you screw this onto, up, that doesn't make any sense to me. The flat end should have been this way, and the hole should have been here so you could tighten it better. It's puzzling, but I got a new zip tie, fresh out of the bag, and it's a little smaller too, so I won't have so much left over. So let me try that and see what happens. All right, so this is assembled, and 2 pieces anyway, and it looks like this will actually work. Amazing. So I just need to, it's a little high, a lot higher than I expected, but that's about the level I have to have it to clear all the branches. And just now it's a matter of attaching the 2 other pieces here. And they're pretty sturdy when I put them together. You can see these have little notches on them, and when they slide together they lock pretty tight. So hopefully that'll stabilize the whole thing. And one more piece, and of course I waited to put the last piece way in the back. Now this is a rather intriguing discovery. The minute I attach one of these, it pushes the one on the other side out. These don't appear to be long enough to hold the whole thing up. Every time I insert one, the other one comes out. unless you don't push them all the way in and just have them sort of hanging there, which to me would seem not that safe, but yay, that looks really good. Not. Yeah, this does not look very stable. If I can tighten this any more up here. And another part of the problem are these little pieces that are supposed to stick onto the branches in the middle. Those have nothing to adhere them. It might not be a bad idea to drill holes through these and then put another twist tie in there to hold it. Yeah, and these are basically just barely hanging on. The rods out here don't seem to be long enough. And given the weight of the train, I'm not sure what's going to happen. All right, so everything's up there. I'm putting the pieces of track on, and they all have little track joiners that have to be connected. And it's not too difficult. Thank you very much. There we go. And thankfully, it says that you don't need to screw them all down. They say if you just want to make it permanent, you can just screw them down, but you don't have to. So I'm not going to, because I don't know if this is going to work or not. So we will find out. All right, all the track was in. That wasn't too bad. Went together pretty well. So now the power supply. And luckily they give you a nice long cord. I'll just be running up the back of the tree. And tuck it in the branches here. I'll give it a wrap around one of these branches just to make sure it doesn't get pulled out. There we go. Is the EMDF locomotive. All the pictures, they show it going around in a counterclockwise motion, so I'll put it on there. And they have in the tracks here these little, what do they call them? Track something. They're called re-railer. They have two re-railers here, and so they say all you got to do is just put it on the track and then just keep rolling it over the re-railers and it'll automatically line itself up. And it is indeed not lined up. There we go. Oh. Now it's lined up. All right. I'm going to plug this sucker in and let's see if it actually goes around. And the switch is right here. The moment of truth. And nothing. Houston, we have no ignition. Well, next step is to take my multimeter and see if there's actually electricity going through this track. If so, that means that the train is dead. If there is no electricity, that means the power supply is dead. Troubleshooting time. Well, my multimeter is giving me a nice steady ½ volt from the power supply. So that means the power supply is shot. That's actually not too big a deal because I can get a new power supply anywhere and I can just wire in the connector. That's not a major deal. But then once I do that, I'm not going to know whether the engine actually functions. So I guess for this year, this is a failed experiment. Well, no experiment is always failed. Experiments are experiments, and you look at what happens and then try to fix it. So for this year, I guess I'll go back to my other train and see if I can patch that back together. Because I don't think there's going to be time enough for me to find a power supply, get it shipped in, and then fix it before Christmas hits. So, Merry Christmas, everybody! Hope you don't get stuck on a train like this.